Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, I'm Nadeina, head of growth at SaaS Group, a serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level. And here I chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business a success. So today with me is Bettina, CEO and co-founder of Hivebuy, assisting small and medium-sized businesses in streamlining their internal purchasing and ordering processes. I think that's a great mission to be on. So welcome to the show and let's dig in.
Hey Anna, thank you so much for having me.
Sure, absolutely. So we've had a couple of founders of procurement tools here in the podcast, and well, I can only assume the challenges and the problems that you guys are solving. So let's get to it. But first, maybe let's start with your background and how did you decide to build Hivebuy in the first place?
Mhm. Sure. So actually, I never wanted to found a company. So I used to work in corporates and I used to work in finance and procurement departments, and I always did process optimizations. I did a ton of ERP implementations and so on. And I also, work for bigger companies as Lidl and Zalando and so on. And well, I mean, back then I was really so. I was sick of doing these ERP implementations and so on, because in the end, everything is the same thing. You have huge problems when it comes to change management. You have you have long implementation durations. It's always a huge project, and everyone at the end is not really happy with the result. And when I decided to leave Zalando in this at this stage, or after my last project, I kind of, I would say I kind of struggled because I wanted to change something, but I also didn't know that founding a company would kind of fit to me and my character. And then I had the idea that I'm starting in a startup and do regular CFO career and make the regular CFO career. But then after a couple of talks with other founders and so on, and also with one really important founder, or with one who's really important for my career in the startup business, I just realized, okay, I'm going to solve the whole topic with long projects, communication within companies, between finance and procurement departments, and also the whole change management part and so on. And I'm going to solve this with Hivebuy. And somehow I just started, and then it worked out, and now we're here 3 years later.
Okay, that's a good story. I mean, it's kind of yeah, the usual. Like you get your problem that you've struggled with, and then you're like, ah, not so happy with what exists to
Mhm.
solve it. So let's try to do better. That's
Yep.
beautiful. So who is you worked with the Zalando and bigger companies, but now Hivebuy is serving, I guess, a bit smaller companies. So how did you decide that this is the market that you're going to? Because again,
Mhm.
from the previous talks, I would assume it would be, maybe a little bit easier to work with like real big enterprises because, well, the contracts are so much bigger, and then the product becomes a little stickier because they're not so bound to like jump off of it in 3 months.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, how did you choose your ideal customer?
Yeah, when we did the analysis at the beginning, we realized that bigger companies also expect much more from companies, and it's kind of difficult to get really started with bigger companies in a startup. I mean, you first need to get all of the certifications, data security, data protection, and so on and so forth. And on the other hand side, we also realized that this market, so the procurement space for enterprises, is also, I would say, rather competitive, and also really, I would say, bigger companies are kind of, yeah, it's really difficult to kind of compete against an SAP or Microsoft or whatever. And so we looked into the market, and we saw that there's a really untouched, I would really say untouched, space between 250 to 1,000 employees per company, because they can't afford, or most of the time they can't, or they won't afford really big solutions for this dedicated space. And on the other hand side, they have really streamlined processes. They just want to have like a really good intuitive tool. And then we said, okay, we're going to focus on them. We also decided not to go with the lower bracket as startups, scale-ups, and so on, because we know that they don't have like that much of an procurement volume that we would need in order to be really effectful and efficient.
Okay, that makes sense. So, tell me about the first 10 customers, or, better yet, the very first one. How did you get
Mhm.
there? Was it, maybe your personal network, or did something else work
Mm.
for you?
Yeah, actually, this was back in the days. That was also my personal network, and also my colleagues that I met at Zalando and so on. They also continue to work for other companies, and somehow I got in touch with them. And then I think the first two were really, I would say, were really from my colleagues, and afterwards it somehow continued because we did a good job, and then we got recommendations, and then the whole inbound funnel started slowly but steady.
So, when, well, I guess like when you were this first stage, right, of the new tool, there is a lot of um, tolerance, let's say, involved from
Mhm.
the customer that is trying to integrate with the tool.
Mhm.
What were the mistakes that you were making, if you can talk about that, and maybe something that didn't work at first, and you had to really like work with your customers, talk with your customers to see,
Mhm.
this is not working, or maybe this is not needed, right? We should focus on something else.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think this is a really common mistake. But at the beginning, you're super excited about the things the thing that you're building, and you think that you're the only one who can solve the problem and so on. But you kind of you don't start listening to your clients, but you're kind of pushing your ideas onto them and ask them the questions like, so let's say closed questions like, and what would you think if we would do this and that? You would like that, right? So if you're kind of um, so you're so in love with the idea and with the product that you build, that you're not starting to listen to your clients, but rather just pushing them any ideas. And yeah, I think this was a really huge learning at the beginning, and I think we could have saved a lot of development power when we would have listened first.
Okay, yeah, communication with the customer. I mean, such a crucial thing, especially at first. But how is the prioritization now? Like, who gets a
Mhm.
say?
Yeah, so actually we have a couple of ways to fill our product roadmap. So we have, I would say, we have an innovative lane. For the innovative lane, it's really that we really have a tight schedule where we meet 3 months so at the beginning of one quarter, and then we are already discussing innovations and are really kind of brainstorming, trying to think out of the box, and so and really developing ideas. Then we're going to get, yeah, actually then we're writing the ideas down, we do our whole estimation and so on, and then we are speaking with our clients about exactly these kind of ideas. So that's the first part, and this takes actually, so I would say 2 months to really have a fixed um, frame and a fixed picture or image of the whole idea. And then this is one big development part for the next quarter. So we really, this process takes 3 months or something like this. Then we have obviously still a couple of things that we're promising our clients that if they sign, then they're going to take to get this and that, which we really tried to reduce. So at the beginning, this was also a huge mistake at the beginning, because we were kind of also trying, either we did it our way or we did it 100% the client's way. Now we try to find something in between, which is getting better and better, but we could still be a bit more strict when it comes to developments into this direction. But yeah, there are still a couple of things that if one client needs X, Y, we're going to do this as well. And then we have bugs, develop or further developments for any features and so on that are also in our roadmap.
Okay. Could you tell me a bit more about this 3 month process, how
Mhm.
you're developing your roadmap and how you decide which feature is being processed and yeah, basically like a bit maybe more of the
Mhm.
technicalities of that process?
Mhm. Yeah, so actually at the beginning, it's really important to understand that, or what we needed to learn at the beginning was that our clients, they won't give us the innovation. They will tell us something that they saw maybe somewhere else or that they know from another tool or something like this, but they won't be the ones who are really, yeah, the innovation one, the innovative ideas. So what we did in order to kind of taking one step out or um, one step closer to the innovation. We are really doing brainstorming sessions where everyone needs to prepare, meaning look into the market, look in other, so primarily in B2C spaces, look into tools that you like to use, and also think about technologies that are currently, I don't know, that I currently use quite a lot. I mean, the whole ChatGPT part and so on is something what we also looked into, because I think this is just would just be stupid if you wouldn't look into these new technologies. And then we're doing really a brainstorming session where everyone can pitch, everything is written down. And then afterwards, we're doing a ranking, meaning what are the features that are kind of just improvements or what is really innovative, and would we think that we could increase sales through these dedicated new features. And based on this ranking, we first do a sales analysis, meaning sales also looks into this, takes 2 to 3 clients to really juggle around with the ideas and think and discussing them with our, I would say, with our closest clients. And then we're handing over the first 3 to 5 um, innovation or yeah, let's say innovations to tech. Tech is kind of figuring out whether they are even able to develop it, whether we have the right skill set on our team, what kind of skills we would need, and so on and so forth. And then we're handing over everything, or we're deciding on 3 more on the 3 top innovations, and then we really ask clients, LinkedIn, newsletter. So we really try to figure out what's the most pressuring topic for our ICP, and then the whole planning takes place, meaning the product team describes the problem, describes the solution, writes down the tickets, and then we're waiting like 4 weeks. I think this is going to take like 2 months or something like this, and then it's going to take 4 more weeks until the new sprint starts or the new quarter starts, and we can plan everything accordingly. So it's really
Yeah. Yeah.
a a huge process in this case. But I think it's really
Yeah.
important that you don't lose focus and just do bug fixing and optimizing of existing features.
Right. So no, not getting stuck in a hamster wheel, right? Yeah. So my next question would be about, you just described how it works within the group, right, within your team. So you have pretty much everyone involved in this process of developing a new feature, and I think that's a really smart move. How does it work in terms of, your new hires and
Okay.
the team that you have currently? Like, what is the flow of the information that you have
Mm-hmm.
to, to get to work on something new at Hivebuy?
Okay. Yeah, actually, the funny thing is that at the beginning, or I would say let's look back like 6 months or 12 months back, we realized that there's a huge gap between sales and tech. Even though we were not many people, it was really difficult because sales really started to promise things, because also we wanted to do the sales, obviously, and tech was on the other hand side like, okay, we need to do this and that, and how, why, and they didn't understand really the background of of the requirement. They didn't understand what the client really wanted. So they started to develop something which was not like the real solution. They needed to redo it and so on and so forth. So we realized that we, even with our small team back then, we really had a huge issue and a huge disconnect between sales and also product and IT. And what we did now in order to fix it, and this is also when it comes to new joiners, everyone who's starting to work in Hivebuy and who's not a developer, so they're kind of excluded in this process, but everyone is working in Intercom, in our ticketing solution, and they're going to work with clients and their questions. We realized that this is, first of all, it doesn't make sense for our size and also for the kind of request that we're having to hire a 100% customer support person. So this was also like a checkbox that we solved on the road. But still, everyone has a dedicated day where they need to do customer support in order to speak with them, in order to get out there and then to understand how they're using or how the clients are using Hivebuy. And then we also see, or since we're doing this, we really realized that it makes it easier to develop the tool further, also in these kind of brainstorming, because then the people know, okay, our CSV upload is absolute, it's a disaster, but now we're going to fix this, and we could fix it with this and that, and I also looked into this and that. So you see that now, so as closer we got the people or the employees to the tool and to the clients, the better the whole product got, and also the better the customer support got as well. And sales as well. Sorry, I mean, you spoke also. So we just recently had new joiners in sales, and when they started to do the first interaction with existing clients, and when they realized how the whole tool is used, they were much better into sales, because they could also say things like, okay, we've got this one client, he's solving this and that topic with this and that. Maybe you should start doing this as well. And this is, if you're having in sales this kind of a collaborative, solution orientated approach, the clients, even so in German mid-sized companies, it's super important that you also know what you're talking about, and you can exactly change this with these kind of with these kind of experiences.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, whenever, sales is sales, but if you don't know what you're talking about, raises some questions. So,
Oh yes.
yes. Okay. So, what is because, well, while you were talking about, communication with customers, and I think it's also, like, of course, important to learn what they're doing and how they're doing it within the tool. But objections are extremely important, and like knowing like why people would not switch or even start with that kind of tool. What is kind of the biggest objection that you've heard, and how are you
Mhm.
tackling them?
I think I need to give you a bit more background here on Hivebuy. So Hivebuy is a company-wide solution which solves the procurement part, meaning we're enabling every person or company to buy things. Either it's hardware, software, services, and so on. Everything can be done through Hivebuy, but everyone can use it as well. Meaning, even if procurement starts to make the decision or makes the decision that they would like to work with Hivebuy, they still need to convince a couple of other decision makers within the company, and these are decision makers that we never meet. So it could be the CFO, it could be head of finance. Head of finance is someone who we might get in a meeting to kind of convince, but there are so many people who somehow have the possibility to just veto the whole decision. That is really a huge problem for us, or that, I mean, it's still, I would say it's still not solved. We're still working on this. But what we did in order to improve it is that we really improved our qualification. So the question, something like this question like, who's going to sign the contract is the most important question, because then somebody, so I don't know why they're, I don't know why they're thinking this, but at the beginning they're always like, I'm making a decision, I'm the one who's deciding if we're going to buy you, blub blub blub, and these kind of things. And in the end you realize that there are like 3 levels above who are signing the contract, even though it's not that expensive. But I don't know. So this was one thing, or this is one question that we also focused a lot on as a learning. And also we started to use digital sales rooms and write dedicated notes or dedicated documents where we say, okay, this is how you can convince finance, this is how you can convince marketing, and so on and so forth. And now we slowly see that it's also used, but it's really, really difficult to see through the whole black box in company-wide tool decision making.
Okay, that's super interesting. Tell me more about those, kind of playbooks, how to
Mm-hmm.
convince different departments.
Mm-hmm.
What do you base your, playbook on?
Mm-hmm.
Is there another tool you use for the data? Is there AI? So how do you first, how do you produce them, and then how do you
Mm-hmm.
implement them?
Yeah, so actually here also one learning, what we did at the beginning, we were really focused on functions, but we didn't focus on the solution and problems that they're having. So what we are doing now is, let's say, for example, if we're speaking about finance, we first figure out what are the most pressing problems, what would they expect as solutions. So how are they measuring a good solution? For finance, it could be, for example, it's no touch invoicing, so that they don't need to touch the invoicing because they have everything in the purchase order that is created out of Hivebuy. So this is, for example, one thing what we one, let's say, one objection that we can handle pretty well and where we convince them pretty fast. And in this case, we looked into these digital sales room tools, but we realized that in, I would say, a rather not technical company, they won't click on links and click through things and read it and so on. So we realized that this is not the right approach. What we did is we wrote a couple of PDFs and so on. So PDF is something like the go-to document type for them. And these PDFs are, first of all, in a Notion board. So we're using Notion quite effective. And what we're also doing is videos, Loom videos. Loom is like the most used tool in our sales, okay, besides CRM and so on. But we realized that if we're doing videos, or if we're sharing also objection handling videos to convince other departments, that's one thing. But also, if we have a really big client with a big contract, we're doing dedicated, personalized videos for these companies. And there we see that this makes them feel special. And therefore, it's super good for them. And I think was also a huge sales hack in order to increase our conversion rates.
That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So another thing that I wanted to ask is, well, I feel like for the type of business that you have, one of the biggest growth levers would be integrations.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you approach this kind of partnerships? How does it work for you? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what would be maybe your advice for other founders who want to use that channel to grow?
So for Hivebuy, we have two major integrations. The one is integration into systems as ERP systems and so on, or BI systems. And the second one are shops. So you can, for example, use our Amazon business integration. So no one needs to log in with a dedicated Amazon business login, but they're just going over Hivebuy and they can log in into Amazon business, but in parallel also to Dell, to the Dell web shop or whatever. So these are two things. For the ERP or system integration part, I would suggest, or I would always say, don't build every interface yourself. There are a lot of integration platforms who are super easy to use and who are also thinking about developer costs. It's also fair. So it's also fair to pay for them. So I would go with this, and you have also the opportunity to just not integrate it to ERP systems, but also ticketing solutions and so on, BI systems, whatever. And this, so, and also these systems, they don't pay you. So at least they don't pay us if we build the integration to them. So it was for us really important, or it was a huge step when we did the integration to this platform provider that we are using, because we were much faster, and it's also a more reliable interface than building everything your own. Then the second thing regarding web shops, and this is also something, if you see that the person or the other integrator has a commercial interest in your tool, your platform, whatever, then it really makes sense to have a commercial agreement. So we're having with every shop that we integrated a commercial agreement. And also we aligned with a couple of shops at least, dedicated marketing and sales collaborations, meaning for us as procurement tool, we're working on flyers that these dedicated shops are putting into the packages. So something like, hey, this and that shop is now working with Hivebuy. Don't you want to change it as well? Look into this. So this is something what they need to agree to in order to get integrated with us. And also, I mean, really, I think LinkedIn and these whole, I rather say LinkedIn has a huge power in this case. So if you have a company which has like 5,000 followers on LinkedIn, it's better than a company with 200, and still you don't have the same people that you approach with this outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very interesting thing to understand how social media could be used for your company, and yeah, because obviously I went into the website and tried to like check out what you guys are doing, how I could potentially use it, maybe try the product. So what I saw was something that was a bit different to the other tools that we had interviews with. You don't charge the setup fee, and you let kind of users to go and test and like have this test account to try the products, almost like a feeling like it's a PLG product, but not really. But I also feel like maybe with Hivebuy and other procurement tools, the time to value could be a little bit longer. So how do you make sure people stick around and they actually get to, or better yet, you get them to a point when they say, hey, like we maybe want to switch or maybe want to start using a product they have a Hivebuy?
So actually at the beginning we have, so for the listeners of the podcast, so we have two different ways of getting in touch with us. The first one is that you just book a meeting with us. It's going to be like 30 minutes, and then we're kind of figuring out how Hivebuy would work with the company. And the other one would be like you get a 2-week free trial mode. But still, even if you are signing up for a free trial, you get a call from us, and we kind of do a really, really small qualification before the people get their test account, because we see that from time to time they have different features. You also see how really how engaged they are and so on. And I think it's really important for us that even if they actually don't plan to speak with sales, they need to speak with someone from the company beforehand, because otherwise it doesn't work. Otherwise the tool is also too complex for setting up and so on. And what we see also, and what we are doing to be to kind of work with the long sales cycles. The sales cycles are longer, so we're not speaking about 6 months, but we're speaking about 3 months. It's really about email cadences based on stage in our CRM tool. So if they're still in the stage where they are not qualified yet in the lead stage, then they get a dedicated, or they get a dedicated cadence where they just get to know more about the benefits, more about the tool, and so on. And then the far there are in the, or the far that go down into the funnel, they get more dedicated cadences and information on Hivebuy and also procurement. We also have like a cost calculation, a cost saving calculator, and so on our side. So these kind of things are things that we're trying really to share with the leads, and we're also trying to be, it's also difficult. So we're trying to be always on the page, or always we're trying to be always visible to them. But on the other side, we're also trying. We don't want to be annoying. And at the beginning, we were super annoying. We were like, okay, we spoke yesterday. Why didn't you get back to us? What's wrong? Blah blah blah. You need to buy. So we were really pushy. It was not that hard, but we were really pushy. But now it's kind of to get to know the people, to get to know the individual needs, emotional needs out of this. That was something which was really critical, and based on this, we also developed dedicated cadences based on the people that are in our process.
Okay. All right. Another thing that I wanted to ask was, well, about your journey, right? Because it's your first business. Like you said, you weren't even sure if that, suits your personality. And that's really interesting. I think it's really, really important to understand if you kind of you even want to be a founder, right? If it's your thing, because, well, it's been romanticized a lot lately, but it's clearly just not for everybody. So how does it work for you? Like, what were the challenges and like breaking into that? And I've seen a few of your posts on LinkedIn about being in like in accelerators and female communities especially, and how it helped you, kind of maybe feel a bit more confident. But tell me more about your, personal journey.
So actually, now that I never wanted to found before, it was for me a huge step, and I went really out of my comfort zone. And I still would say that there are people who are maybe not that in their head. So for me, it's really about safety, and for me, it's also building something which is sustainable and which can grow pretty well. So this is like my approach in these kind of things. I'm not like these kind of founders who are like, fuck it, I'm going to do this now for 2 years, and I'm doing as much as I can, and yeah, let's see how it goes, and if it doesn't go well, then it's also okay. So at the beginning, I was really super tense, and I wanted to make everything perfect, and I wanted to do the best job ever. I wanted to be the best founder ever, and so on. And I also was kind of thinking, I just saw like founders who were super successful, who did big rounds and so on. And I was super intimidated by everything. And so now I would say so this was actually a big step for me to realize that everyone is like the same, and everyone struggles, and founding is really romanticized, and it's a hard job, and you really need to be committed in order to give everything, and to order to do a good job. But in parallel, you also need to take care of yourself, because no one else is going to stop you if you work like 24/7, and the only thing that's going to stop you is your health. And this is, I think it's really it's a balancing act between doing everything that the company needs, but also realizing that you can just do everything if you're in a good mental state, if you have also enough time off, if you, yeah, so these kind of things. And I think this was like the biggest step for me, or the biggest learning for me, to kind of find the balance here in this case.
Could you share maybe some, I don't know, techniques or even like
Mhm.
routines that make it a bit of an easier job for you to just, perform at such a high level, but doing it in a healthier way?
Yes. So there are a couple of things that I'm doing. The first thing, and I think this is also maybe something which is kind of easy, but writing down at the end of the day what you achieved, because you're always thinking, okay, you did so much, but at the end you don't have, like, it's not like building a car or something like this. In the end, you don't have anything when you did a day of, I don't know, sales and just calling people. So this was definitely one thing that really helped me a lot. Also, it was important for me to still have to still allow me that I'm not doing plans in my free time. So of course I'm meeting friends in my free time and so on, but when I started this whole journey, I was really um, I had Tuesday. Tuesday was my day where I went for a run. Thursday was yoga day. Sunday was cycling day, whatever. So I really had a strict plan, and I realized only after I dropped this really strict plan how hard, how deep it went into my mind, and how how it kind of also took mental capacity that I also commit to this, because actually me, yeah, as a character, I'm my hardest critic. I also need to kind of convince myself and also give me like the freedom to breathe and to do whatever I want. And if it's like getting out with my dog in the park and doing and not burning 400 calories, then it's also okay, you know? So you need to also accept that you're human, and you need to have like this mental freedom and mental space in order to deliver a good job and to build a really good company.
Absolutely. That I think that's so important to talk about because yes, you're kind of high performing at work and it's really difficult to just like let go and like what am I doing on the weekends? I cannot have a medal on the weekend. Wait, that's not right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and then you always have these people in your mind, so at least I do, who are saying, "Yeah, I'm waking up at 5 in the morning, and then I'm doing 1 hour sport. Then I'm also preparing my food for the day, and then I'm in the office at 7:30. I'm leaving the office at 9 p.m. Then I'm doing 1 hour meditation, and then I'm going to bed. You know, and also on the weekends, I'm also working like crazy, you know. So I always have these kind of founders in my head, or these voices in my head, and I know that actually I don't believe their lies anymore. If there's a founder who's really doing this and committing to this like for more than 4 weeks, please hit me and tell me how it's going, how you can do this, but I can't.
reach out to us. We'll call off your bullshit. Okay. But yeah, that's great. Thanks for bringing up some hard truth to it. But what about the company? I mean, so far, you're I guess still at the like the early stages, and while you're there, all the ups and downs are still kind of in your head, and then get there very easily. What has been the biggest win and the biggest failure?
I think every day is the biggest win. So it sounds cheesy, but it's crazy what we made here. We have thousands of users who are using Hivebuy every day. They're super happy. So if you look into our NPS scoring and so on, we have the opportunity to go every day into our office. We don't need to make weird people richer, you know. So that's what I also thought in my previous jobs. So it's kind of, it's amazing if you try it, and if you somehow made it possible. It's amazing that you are able to do this every day, and you should. So actually I really try to be thankful for this, because there are so many people who are kind of stuck in their 9 to 5 jobs and who don't want to do this anymore, but don't know how to change. And somehow we made this step. So me and my co-founder, we made the step. We were able to hire a couple of people, to hire a team. We were able to get investment, and now we can do everything that we want to do in order to grow the company for the next months and years. So crazy.
That's a great win. I mean, it's really important to understand like the bigger picture. But Was there any failure or like a challenge that you reflect on?
Yeah, so actually, so also speaking about the whole mental state thing that we had before, at the beginning, I was totally insecure. I was always thinking, okay, I'm a first-time founder. I don't know that much as person X, Y, who invested already in 500 companies and they saw everything. And I also thought that these kind of investors that I also pitched with at the beginning for our pre-seed round or whatever, that they know everything. And every time when they gave me feedback, I totally listened and I was like, okay, good, I need to change it. And then I went through my to-do list and was like, tick, tick, and also tried to solve all of the things that they told me. But there's also a lot of bullshit around there. And I thought, okay, they're so highly rewarded. They know everything. And I didn't think myself because I thought, okay, my opinion and my feeling is not right because I didn't do it before. And then, for example, we did our first fundraise, and I also never did fundraising before, so it was my first time speaking with investors, anyways. And um, then one investor told me, yeah, Bettina, great founding team, great idea, perfect, perfect, perfect. But we think that you shouldn't do sales. And I was like, okay, well, maybe because I never did sales before, I shouldn't do this because I mean, how should I know how to convince someone to buy the tool that we built? And then we hired someone for sales. And that was like it was a huge failure because I mean, so this person that we hired, he didn't know what to sell because also this whole idea started in our head and somehow to convince someone from something where you still don't know yet how, what, to whom to sell and so on. So this was also totally this was also totally unfair from our point of view to expect a third person to sell the product even without any background information. And so this was like 6 months for like garbage. And then also making the decision that to fire someone, the first hire he was not the first hire, but to fire someone at this early stage when you think that you're a super team and that you know everything and so on. But still, I mean, biggest mistake, listening to people who don't know you, who don't know the company, and who are not in your head.
Right, but then the biggest win, I guess, understanding that hey, experience is not everything. So,
True.
really, really great learning. Okay, so the last question is usually about a hack, right? So, could you maybe
Mm-hmm.
share a hack that worked for you? Could be,
Mm-hmm.
something to keep sane and kind of navigate in this environment, or maybe something a bit more focused on sales or hiring or whatever you want.
So I think my biggest hack is don't believe the lies that you see on social media. So everyone is just bullshitting, and some people are they are more true to themselves, but a lot are not. So don't compare yourself. Just stick to your own targets, and you're going to do much better.
Okay. I mean, as you know, as a very frequent user and also like having social media as one of the top priorities in our development,
Mm.
yes, I can back this up. But yeah, I think social media again is it's been a bit demonized right now because well, yeah, there is a lot of bullshit and a lot of like really empty promises, but sometimes maybe having a few people that you really look up to and like as your like
Mm.
benchmark, but again maybe get some backstory, get some idea of what's actually going on before sticking to like to their agenda and what they're talking about.
Yes, and actually, so I wouldn't say that this is just bad. I mean, we also do a lot of sales over LinkedIn, and we see that if you stick to facts and if you stick to really solutions and so on, then it's super good. And then I have a couple of people that I really love to read or to follow, because they have really good hacks, they have good ideas and so on. But I mean, I just read this morning that someone said, buying real estate is my new hobby. And I thought, okay, come on, don't. So it's just, yeah, don't believe everything straight from LinkedIn or social media. And I think maybe it's not don't believe social media. It's rather your opinion matters. I would say this is much more important.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, sometimes you need to sober up a little bit from all the like social media effect. But
Yep.
it's been great talking with you. I mean, love the energy, love what you're saying about, the way you're building and the processes that you have at Hivebuy. Would love to see where you go and maybe do it again next year.
Perfect. Would love to do this. Thank you so much for having me,
Awesome.
Anna.
Thank you. Anytime and take care.